Oh man,
Go on,
what a
George.
gut punch. What a gut punch with everything that's going on. My God, there's so much to talk about. I don't know, man. It got to a point, when you're sitting there and it's just each second is ticking by and you're willing the boys to go
Started
through.
to believe.
This was just a gut-wrenching way to end what can only be described of how proud you have to be with the boys at this. What an incredible match. So much stuff to talk through. Give me your initial emotions because honestly, my head's gone. My head's gone.
Disappointed for sure. But the fact that I'm so disappointed that I've gone to the Etihad with 10 men for 45 minutes, I'm believing with a point. It says how far this team's come. So in the current moment, in this instant moment, yeah, a lot of disappointment. And that's about it. I'm not even angry at any players, to be quite honest. Not even Trossard at this point. But I think when we look back at this in a week's time, when we've all calmed down and the game's gone, you realize that it was a very good point because of what we were put into. And you look at how the City players celebrated. We've got the 4-time champions. We've won it 4 in a row, celebrating a draw at home against 10 men like they won the league. So that for me is all I need to see.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough to go, look, we've gone to the Etihad and look, with 11 men, I have no doubt we beat these guys. No doubt. We were literally ahead the whole game. And for 45 minutes with Erling Haaland and Phil Foden and all these players they have at their home ground, where they've not lost for God knows how long, they've not lost a single league game since December. It took them 96 minutes to get a goal. So listen, man, disappointed for sure, but I think when we look back at this in due course, we'll go, it's a good point.
Mate, honestly, like you sit there and, we'll have to get through the first half and, because the whole context of the second half, look, I've got something to say on referees in terms of making things a training match. And, no one wants to see this, by the way. Absolutely no one wants to see what Michael Oliver just did. And, from a perspective of, I don't mind if we're going to apply this to the league. We have seen countless times that this inconsistency doesn't happen. So from that point, I don't think there's a single spectator that wanted to sit there and watch wave after wave after wave of Man City attack. From a level, personally, from a fan, if we're not good enough, we're not good enough. I will take the loss. I will sit there. We will analyze it. We will try to get through. But the fact that he sat there and he's done that for, again, delaying a restart, there were some people that were telling me, was it for the foul? And it wasn't for the foul.
No, it
I
wasn't
mean,
for
you've
the
got
foul.
Holland, you've got Saliba doing that initial clash off the top. There's just he reffed a game that was clearly talking about fine margins. He was letting things go, and then he goes and he ruins the spectacle. It ruins the match. And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, why don't you tell Arsenal players for stop kicking the ball outside of a restart? Well, it doesn't make sense when 10 minutes earlier you've got Doku doing the
Okay.
exact same thing
Even more
in
blatant.
terms of kicking the ball, and there's no even cards. So I mean, the inconsistency for me has gone to another level. It's been absolutely ridiculous, and it just ruins what was a beautiful match that I thought had tons
Yeah,
of tactical chess
fantastic
pieces.
first half.
Yeah, and you know what? It was incredibly frustrating. And yeah, we'll probably have to sit there and talk about some of the matchups, but that's the only thing I can
Yeah,
talk
it's
about on this ref and
yeah.
and this decision in general.
I think it takes common sense to realize that you're changing the state of the entire game because of a kick of a ball. Is that worthy of a second yellow card? If that was the first yellow card, I understand it. People go, well, if you get 2 yellow cards, you get sent off straight away. But you have to realize the bar has got to be higher for a red card.
Yeah.
You've gone, this player is giving me no choice but to send him off. I have to take his team and punish them for what he's done because I think he's done something so blatant and so obvious that he deserves to go off for it. Not a little petty kick of the ball. It's not like City had a free kick on the edge of our box that they want to take free quickly anyways. It was in their own half. There's no danger whatsoever. There's a bar for red cards that they need to set, and they do at times. And when it's against Arsenal, we've seen Kovacic come to the Emirates last year, plants one on Odegaard, not get sent off for it. But a little kick of the ball, and that's enough to change the entire game. And we've seen it against now. Every time an Arsenal fan watches a game of football and sees a player kick a ball away and doesn't get booked for it, we're gonna go, well, what's happening there? What's happening there? And I don't want to complain about the referee anymore because he's not on my control. But it happens week in, week out. I feel helpless about it because we can't change it. What are we gonna do? Make a petition?
There's a part of me that almost feels like he felt bad for the earlier decision in terms of allowing the goal from Calafiori, and he sat there saying, "I need to level it out. I need to level out my decision." And I just hate when there's just that illogical thing that you can't control in a match that dictates something that I thought there was a lot more stuff to talk about in the match. There's a lot more things. I thought Kyle Walker, again, in the first half was somebody that we targeted really consistently in terms of long switches over the top. I mean, that was a mismatch that I felt that we had the beating of consistently. I thought Calafiore was really interesting. He had a very difficult start. I think when you look back at the goal, his over aggressiveness in wide spaces and his positioning out wide was really poor on Savinho, letting him get on the inside. And from there, the back line stretch and Holland does what Holland does. But then in terms of the mentality to get back in, that's what Calafiore gives. And he has a world-class strike. Mate, like in terms of, people are going to complain about the restart, but the skill involved to sit there and ping it and pick your spot out like that first time, absolutely world-class from that perspective. And then you go, and I think David Raya, who has been arguably Arsenal player of the season so far to start the season, hasn't just been this match. He's been colossal in terms of being an incredible wall. And Bukayo Saka makes it only him and Holland to
5
have
assists.
either a goal or assist in every single match this season. So a lot of talking points. I'll go to you first. Why don't you pick me out in terms of the first half? How did you see it? How did you see it going? Were you feeling like it was fairly even match, or did you feel that Arsenal were a little bit conservative in terms of their approach?
I think it became even. I think right at the start of the game, City came out firing out of the blocks, obviously very fired up because last year, 3 games against us, they didn't beat a single time. So they come out here trying to make a statement, and for the first 10, 15 minutes, they were all over us. And that happens when you're top side, in top gear. But we found a way to survive. Even with the chance they created, of course, it was a great individual moment of brilliance, and obviously Calafiori can do better as well. But his first league start, I'm not expecting him to, have a perfect performance against a high class winger as well. But after that, I think just the way we hang on, slowed the game down, needed a bit of luck, obviously Rodri going off, and I think, by the way, that looks to me a very serious injury. I don't know the way he was holding his knee, but it could maybe be an ACL. And that could play a massive part. It's not what you want to see, but it could play a massive part in the title race. But in terms of how we came back into the game, the composure, we grew into the game. You're never going to go to the Etihad away and go gun for the first minute and blow them out of the water. But what you can do is be smart, be clever, pick your moments. And that's exactly what we've done. And we should have scored another, by the way, from set pieces. We talk about Gabriel's first, that goal he scored. But prior to that, I think he had an even easier chance that we should have scored there. And it proves that, we are obviously the best set piece in the world at this point. But it proves that we can go to the Etihad and get a result, and we should have won that game. We would have won that game, and we were this close to winning the game as well with 10 men. So if we had 11 men for the entire game so we can get more on the counter attack and have more threat there, then I think we would have easily won this game. And that's mad to say because City don't lose at the Etihad. So for me in that first half, it was even. Arsenal edged it. And, it was annoying to see right at the end, Trossard gets enough for it. And of course, I'm not going to just blame the referee for it as well. Trossard needs to do better there. But at the same time, I've seen other teams get away with it too often. And so I can blame my player for it. But if it's a consistent issue, with the Rice one was a lot worse than that. He's kicked the ball away slightly and sent him off for that. So it feels like to me, just in my opinion, the referees at times can't wait to send these Arsenal players off. It's almost as if they want that to happen at times. But we've actually got a super chat from Ivan Smith who says, Michael Oliver, by the way, what a photo that is. Michael Oliver should never officiate in the Premier League ever again. One of, if not actually, the most disgraceful refereeing performance in Premier League history. This is the biggest game of the season, George. This is the 2 biggest teams going head to head. It's a fantastic first half. It's entertaining for not just Arsenal City fans, but neutrals. And you choose to change the entire course of the game, your influence on the game, because of a petty kick of the ball, which was going nowhere, by the way. And it's like a second after you've blown the whistle. I don't get it.
No, but that's the thing, right? Like, you ruin a spectacle and you ruin something, you ruin the product. And, I'm not even having this whole idea that, so-and-so should know better when you're not going to apply the very same consistency that you're going to apply moments earlier with Doku. I have no problem if you're going to sit there and you're going to start claiming those things and then carding Doku. I have no problem with that. You've applied it consistently. It's on us. It's on us in the match. But when you sit there and you do it, so inconsistency with the very same match and the very same ref in the same game, it's wild. It's maddening for me. But look, mate, I do want to get to the game because honestly, that's something that we can't control. The one thing I'm going to say is that the refereeing and also even the PGMOL have to do better. I need to see people stand up because at some point you're just going to sit there and consistently ruin matches, and it's got to a point. It's got to a point for me where it's just not enjoyable anymore. And I would rather sit there and be beat fairly and accept those faults and those mistakes, because no one's afraid of those things. And you
Yeah.
sit there, and I'm just really proud of the players. I've not been more proud of these boys in a while. You sit there to go, and people are going to complain about how Arsenal had nothing. They didn't sit there and they didn't come out. I'm sorry. What did you want to see? We have is effectively two of our starting midfielders out. We have no midfielders on the bench. What did you want to change in terms of adding an attacker who, by
Stupid.
the way, as an
Stupid.
outlet, is not going to get your foot on the ball? I mean, I don't really understand what people are after as far as changing this aspect of the game. When you sit there and you do that, by the way, get a red card. The biggest evolution is we lose that game consistently. Every time that we've got a red card and we're at the Etihad, it's been a blowout. So as far as pride, couldn't be more proud from the boys. I think that everybody bought into terms of what they were doing. It's absolutely gut wrenching that on the last minute of the match, you do all that hard work and we do get an unlucky bounce. And they were
Mm.
concentrating for so hard, but I can't sit there and complain whatsoever. I
No,
don't feel
no.
comfortable analyzing that conceded goal whatsoever after the previous 48 or actually longer, mate. It was 55 minutes of pure concentration. And I'm sorry, that's going to happen. I'm not going to sit there and blame the boys after what I think was a brilliant attempt at doing
Fantastic.
something very special. And you know
Couldn't
what?
get much better.
City are worried for all that crap
Oh,
that
they were.
Rodri wants to give us about celebrating a draw. What the hell was that? What the hell was that from you, hypocrite?
That's what I said.
Honestly,
You've
I'm
got the
sitting there.
four-time champions
Yeah, I'm
doing
I'm
that.
sitting there and I'm actually so pissed that we're gonna sit there and just spew unrelated drivel. We're
Yeah.
sitting there and we're seeing the champions, the four-peat, right? They're celebrating a draw after what? Is their own making? I mean, they had the man advantage. It wasn't on Arsenal to sit there and come out. Why are you sat there criticizing an approach when it's on you to go and win the game?
No, it's true.
And
It's
so
true.
and so honestly, yeah, I'm tired of it. I've got nothing but pride for the boys. I've got nothing but pride for the team. And I'm sitting there, and again, people aren't talking about Gabrielle in terms of that set piece threat. It's brilliant. I mean, not just 2 games in a row, but we're talking about, for me, the most potent aerial threat on set pieces. Because he has a lot to do, by the way. That delivery from Bukayo Saka, it's excellent. But when you have a look at it, the way that he gets up and has to contort his body to make sure that that is on target is incredibly, incredibly impressive. And again, Kyle Walker, like a little girl, couldn't follow his marker. The stupid tapping that he's doing on the marking like that, and he's
Yeah,
trying
he
like
got called up for it.
it's I hate that fake hard man bullshit. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's so annoying. And I don't know, mate. I'm sat
Yeah.
there right now, amped up.
Well,
I'm really proud of the boys, and I think from
mm,
every person from 1 to 11, there was a commitment. There was a level of focus and concentration that everybody knew what they were trying to do. And you know what? We had some new people come in terms of Calafiori being able to really upkeep that. Jakob Kivior coming in, Miles Lewis Skelly, my son, coming in for a debut. So look, mate, all in all, a lot of pride. We probably should go to 1 to 11. Talk to me
let's go
about
for the
David
super chats
Raya.
first, though. Let's start with the super chats. We're quite a
Oh
lot
yeah,
to go
yeah.
through. There's over 2,000 people in the chat, so big up to you guys watching. Smash a like wherever you're from, and subscribe as well if you are new to the Cannon podcast. Thank you to Harry Scary for 2 super chats. Really do appreciate the support. Mafio says the same ref didn't want to send off Kovacic last year. Yeah, I tweeted about that. I showed the clip, and the thing is, I think he was already on a booking as well, or maybe that was his first yellow card. Like, so yeah, it's intriguing, but we know how referees are. We've talked about it, so we're not trying to dwell on it too much. Another super chat here from George. When you pronounce that name?
Why are you going to me?
Because I don't want to get it
Prathamesh
wrong. I don't be disrespectful.
Wagamode.
There you go. That's good. Why doesn't Michael Oliver wear the City badge on his matchday shirt? He probably does behind the scenes, innit? Coach Lance says, imagine the day City fans celebrate a tie against Arsenal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Literally, you saw them celebrating as if they'd won the game. Despite, if we look, imagine Arsenal had done that at the Emirates
Yeah.
Stadium against Man City. We played against 10 men and we scored the last minute equaliser. We might celebrate, but imagine how the timeline reacts to it. And how, other fans react, oh, why we're also celebrating a draw? But Man City get away with it, man. It's fine. It's fine. We see how it is. Another super chat here from Sutton Explorer says there is a lot of context with the fixture scheduling as well, as seeing the letter of the law happening only to us. And still to get a point, I'm proud. So are we. Very proud of the
Yeah.
performance. Alejandro says It's us versus the world. I'm proud of the team, but I'm disappointed in the ref. City look rattled, weak, and pathetic. We will have their heads. Listen, George, we'll go through the 11 in a second. We've got one more super chat to go through. Another one from Harry's Gary says, keep forgetting to message. Very proud of the boys. From the game plan to almost clinching a win at the Etihad with injuries to our key players and the referee screwing us the rest of the game. A lot of proud Arsenal fans tonight. And we deserve to be proud, man, because we've got the formidables, they call themselves. 115, whatever you want to call them. We've got them rattled to the point where they're celebrating a draw, despite their own Rodri saying at the end of last year, mentality this, mentality that. We've come to your ground. We've gone 2-1 up, and you couldn't lay in a glove on us basically in the second half with 10 men. So hold that. George, let's go for the 11 then. David Raya, go for it.
Mate, honestly, man of the match performance. Honestly, I sit there and I'm so happy that he's come into his own, and I think that the last couple games he's really benefited from knowing that this is his team, truly, and I think the level that he's showing, especially in terms of his shot stopping, has been really the only thing that fans had questioned at the beginning in terms of when he came in. And I think he's showing a level of composure in those key moments and really standing tall in key moments in order to get us going. Because we all know what he can do from a positioning perspective. We all know the play style changes that he helps encourage. But fundamentally, one thing that people don't talk about is David Raya supposedly was somebody that really struggled with shot stopping and generally shots from outside the box. And I just think in this entire match, he was focused. The way he got down in terms of trying to help off not just shots from Kyle Walker outside the box, but in terms of getting low, being able to get across this face of goal. And I think just really making sure to marshal that back line was just incredibly important. So for me, I think I'd give him man of the match in this performance.
Yeah.
He stood tall. He was a giant in so many key moments.
There's a lot of man of matches defensively. I mean, Gabriel and Saliba fantastic as well. And I think I'll talk about them both in as a duo, because again, against Erling Haaland, look, a tough opening start. They've come through and, they've gone and scored that first goal. And obviously they can do better maybe defensively. And there's a lot more to talk about that. But in terms of how they dealt with the 10 men, how many chances did Erling Haaland have in that second half? This is the best striker in world football who's scoring goals for fun. And in the second half against 10 men, I can remember one header. And that's about it. And we're talking about, and if you can do that against Erling Haaland, who can't you do it against? These two are world class, guaranteed. And we were talking about against City fans earlier this week about combined 11s and stuff. And I kept putting Gabriel and Saliba together because I don't think Diaz could improve the centre back partnership, nor Kanji, nor Stones. These two are perfect together. And I love the fact that they're at my club right now. And another example of going up against City, cleared 2 goals today, but with 10 men for 45 minutes, they couldn't make any massive chances. And that's because our 2 centre backs are world class. And even Ben White off the bench, I think he was fantastic again. Superb, great cameo. And defensively in general, what do you make of Yuri and Timber?
Yeah, I thought Yuri and Timber was really good, especially in terms of being able, the flexibility that he shows, by the way, in terms of being able to go from left back to right back and no problem being able to sort it. And again, he's up against probably one of the best 1v1 dribblers in the league in terms of Doku. So his ability to really clamp down sides and adjust to angles is really going to be underrated in terms of our ability to be versatile in the back line. So, I mean, he gives us a level of just composure in 1v1 duels that I'm very calm. No matter the kind of the uphill battle he might face, I'm very confident defensively with him. And I think he shows moments in terms of being really bright in the middle third. I just don't think we had an opportunity to really see that today. I go from Yuri and Timber, who I felt really confident in defensively, to kind of Calafiori, who I felt like gave me a maverick feeling, but then again showed some of the raw aspects I had talked a lot about and kind of the scouting things in terms of him being over aggressive to markers at times. He definitely has to have a look in terms of judging the distance a little bit better when he's going to meet people in isolation out wide. But in terms of what he gives you from not just a mentality perspective, but the technical quality and composure that he shows in deep buildup, Calafiori is somebody that I don't think gets phased at all by anything. And I mean, that's a world-class strike, mate. It's a world-class strike. And he is just, for me, he will not allow himself to lose. And I just love that mentality. I love what he gives us in terms of something a little bit more in terms of forcing the issue. And I think he's so brave in terms of his ability to draw out a team. And so that was really impressive. And I don't know, mate, you go through the midfield, and I just thought, again, it's gonna be overused, but proud in terms of what
shot like in the second half, amazing.
Yeah, Partey, Rice, and Havertz made like the amount of work that those guys did, especially Kai Havertz, I thought, who ran his socks off, was absolutely imperious. Um,
Builded.
I think that we struggle to really impose ourselves in terms of in possession at moments, but it's really tough because you got to bookmark the game between red card and no red card. And you look at the first half, I feel like the first 25 minutes were about City, and then the last 15, 20 minutes were all Arsenal. And I think we really started to take a hold of the match and towards the end of the first. And I thought we were starting to get in some really promising positions. And
Yeah,
so,
very
uh,
promising.
yeah, no, it was very exciting to see the team adjust and see the new guys come in and accept that mentality from the start. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was impressive.
The forward line for me was second half industrious, hard working, and making the best out of something out of nothing. And it's hard. We're talking about Gabriel Martinelli trying to beat 3, 4 players and get back defensively as well. And obviously Kai Havertz as well. Dropping that's why Havertz for me, playing him as a striker and having in games like this is so important, so useful because he can play in midfield. You gotta imagine Haaland defending in the midfield, could you? But this guy's shuttling across, working hard, what an engine. And he's starting games week in, week out as well, So massive, very proud of Havertz's performance as well. And I wanted to see more going forwards in the first half. But we weren't able to see that in the second half because the referee wanted to change the entire game. And even Bukayo Saka getting his 5th assist of the season, as you said earlier. Him and Erling Haaland, the only 2 players in the league to get a goal or assist in every game so far this season. So it's just annoying. I'm so rattled right now, not because of the performance or the result, but because the fact that this game was so exciting in that first half. And then I had to watch a second half stressful performance where, as an Arsenal fan, as a City fan, you're engaged by it. But if you're a neutral, and there was a lot of neutrals watching this game, you're not enjoying that. You're not enjoying the team pass around the edge of the box and then seeing a team sit back in defence. But it is what it is. We have to deal with it, have to move on with it. And I think, George, my question to you is, we've gone to the Etihad. We haven't won. Could have won, haven't won though. But seeing how we've performed this year compared to last year, how we've gone to Villa Park and got a win, gone to Spurs away, without our starter midfield, by the way. No Marino, no Odegaard, and we've got a result here against City as well. 4 points out of 6 against City and Spurs. It could have been 6 out of 6 if it wasn't for an extra minute.
Mm.
Are you more confident than ever before that this is Arsenal's year to win a title? Because I personally am.
I think title talk is when I get into March personally. I think we're there. We've always been there. In terms of us being able to do it, the biggest thing that I'll say is I always felt like this first 10 to 15 games of the season is where we would say we either won or lost the title. And to sit there and get effectively your entire first choice midfield out of Spurs away, 2 out of 3 of your midfield starters out against Manchester City. And I mean, probably City could probably argue, hey, we had basically the same thing in terms of De Bruyne not being out and then Rodri going off, which looks like a pretty serious injury. I think it's a pretty serious knee injury. Don't know what it could be, probably LCL. But regardless, you're looking at months out for him as well. That's going to be significant. It's going to be a case of which team can survive with 2 out of their 3 starting midfield out. I mean, Odegaard's not going to be back until the following international break. I think Mikel Merino is going to be in a similar boat. And I think that when you have a look at it, it looks like De Bruyne, I don't know when he's going to come back, but he's been out for quite a while. And then you've got Rodri as well, who looks to have a more longer-term absentees. So when you're playing it, this is something that Arsenal needed to do. And I just felt like last year, there was a level of Arsenal trying to play up to their opposition. Whereas here it felt like we stood tall. And this idea about them trying to bully us into a position that they didn't really respect us was completely wrong. You've got people now that are saying that they're not bothered, yelling at the ref and doing everything they can to get Arsenal players sent off. So from my perspective, I sat there just saying, these boys grew up today. They grew up today. And there was just a level of us not being bullied. And we're just not, we're not going to concede. We're not going to sit there and we're not going to bow down to the almighty City and just accept these results. We're not going to do that despite having something against us. So, yeah, I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you're going home proud of the boys. You're going home gutted because of how close you were to what would have been a hallmark rather, a hallmark and kind of win. But all in all, you just got to sit there and be proud of the boys.
Yeah, we've got the stats here, and they're not going to be in our favour, but reality is we got a result. We got the City had 77% possession, XG of 2.7, but most of that came in the second half. And I think in the first half, it was very even.
Yeah.
They had 92% of the field tilt, so no field tilt points tonight, 83 final field entries, and a 5.8 expected threat created. But look, for me, it's the fact that we've gone to the Etihad away and we've held them down. Still, we've seen sides with 11 men concede higher XG against City. So with 10 men to do that, I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm very annoyed as well because I think we're this close to a win, and how much the mood would have been lifted right now if we had just survived an extra 2 minutes. But it is what it is, man. You have to make the most out of it. But I think, George, in terms of going next now, we've got, I think, Bolton in the Carabao Cup this week. Then you've got, I think, Leicester, and you've got a few games coming up. Would you like to see any changes? Because I think with how much we worked this entire week, three
Yeah.
away games, three tough, difficult away games, Europa League champions, Premier League champions, and Nando's FC as well. What do you reckon? Some changes, maybe Ethan Wanyeri or Miles starting in a game like Bolton.
No, I would go through a whole rift of changes. I think that what we've expended in the last week, from Spurs to Atalanta to the Etihad, is a hugely taxing week. It was going to be our toughest week of the season, period. So to get through that, and in terms of the league, getting 4 to 6 points was incredibly important. That was just a minimum. And so I look at Bolton and I think, yeah, a raft of changes is probably due. You've got Urian Timber going out with what was cramp. Kai Havertz was dead on his feet. I mean, what is going to be probably important is making sure that we're able to ride these next 4 or 5 games, which are winnable games. This, for me, is where we have to go on a run in the league. We have to start thinking about, respectfully looking at these opponents and saying, okay, we're picking up 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, and start a little bit of a goal scoring run for me, gain a little bit of confidence, because we've got teams that we should be beating and we should be able to control the match. So from a perspective of looking ahead, I think Bolton is definitely a rotation. I think, you've got Leicester, you've got Southampton, right? You've got a raft of games that you would look at up until basically Liverpool, I think, are very winnable games. So we should go in terms of trying to make max points there.
Yeah, true. And I think by those games there, you might have Marino returning. You might have Martin Odegaard returning. We'll be stronger, But for me, it's the fact that I've seen my side now go to 3 of the most difficult away games of our season without our starter midfield and still find a way to get a job done. And we were very close to making it 6 points out of 6. You know how crazy that is? Get Spurs away and City away without 2 of your starter midfielders. I mean, that is for me crazy. And I'm excited to see Calafiori as well, for the fact that in his first game, he's showed that level of confidence and maturity as well. There's a lot of things to be excited about, and we'll see how, also, it depends on City as well. Let's see what happens with Rodri, because for me, that looked very serious. Like holding his knee, I think his ACL area there. If something like that happens, then again, for also has a massive impact as well. So a lot of things happening. Comments, get your questions in. We'll reply to them as soon as possible. But yeah, George. Bro, that referee's it's gonna stick on my mind. And the worst part is when I hear rival fans go, "Oh well, it doesn't matter. Oh, you shouldn't make the thing in the first place." But then when their teams have the same thing happen to them, oh, referees are the worst. Referees are the worst. They got legendary against Arsenal. I think we're winning the league.
Well, look, I think right now all you got to sit there is talk about how proud you can be of the team, and just have a look at what we were able to achieve in this week, which was a big week. It was a big week. So I think the boys need to rest up. We're looking at trying to hopefully get some people back. And look, I'm just so annoyed that we couldn't isolate Kyle Walker more. I thought he looked old today, mate. That was a guy that I just felt like we could really sit there and really hurt City with. And it was just so annoying. Even when we had 10 men, I mean, when we had the ball, Ben White's looking for a long switch over the top to Martinelli, because we could just tell that was the weakness. That was the weak area. So frustrating that we couldn't exploit that a little bit more than we could. But yeah, I think from the most part, when you have a look at the state of Arsenal, I think to go away, I think we only have maybe now St. James Park, which is a really difficult away day. And beyond that, we've got through very difficult away days that had given us a lot of trouble last year. And we did so with really maximum points. It's a gut punch, isn't it? To lose the way that you lose right now, it's a gut punch to how you feel in terms of confidence, because I think you go into it with a win like that and the hoodoo over, and to be there with a minute, mate, with a minute, it's so tough to do these instant reactions after trying to keep your emotions in check and objective with something like that, because mate, we deserved the points with that performance. And despite those attempts looking big, if you had to look at all of those kind of shots in order, whilst it had 20 attempts, it was they weren't very good attempts. They were all outside the box. They were all kept from outside the area. Really, it was really just that one moment, that spill in the box, and it's incredibly gutting.
It is going. It is. Alex is in the chat, says, lads, I'm 7 pints deep on my mate's birthday. But just checking in to say love you, and we're winning the league. We're winning the effing league. I hope so, mate, because I believe now. I think for me, that's a check. When we're looking at that performance and looking at the fact that I believe we should have won that game, even with 10 men, for me, it's a check. I think this is a year the Arsenal league title. And I'm saying with chess now. I've seen enough now. I've seen us go to the Etihad and play like we've not played before. And it doesn't have to be expansive attacking football always, on their throats. But we would have got a result. We got a result. We would have won got 3 points for me if it wasn't for the referee. So we'll see. It is what it is. But for now, second in the league, I believe we are 2 points behind Man City. But all I'm going to say is, especially any Man City fans in the chat as well, you guys have won the title 4 times in a row. You've won the Champions League, and you're celebrating a draw against Arsenal at home with 10 men. Just have a look at yourselves, because something's wrong there. It looks to me, Erling Haaland's running into youngsters, 17-year-olds, picking on people. It looks to me a little bit rattled, just a little bit, but it's fine. We'll do
What's that guy that goes like, I'm not nervous, but I'm feeling
get shaky, get a bit shaky. City are getting shaky because there was a lot of chess before this game. You're coming to the Etihad. We'll be careful. Be careful. We had 10 men for the 45 minutes. You couldn't lay a glove.
Yeah,
you couldn't lay a glove. So fair enough, man. It's fine. We look forward to our next few games, and we look forward to playing you guys at the Emirates, because I've seen you guys play at the Emirates and don't do the same thing, by the way, and no one talks about it. But it's fine, man. It's fine. We'll see about that. But anyways, George, it's been a pleasure. Chat's been a pleasure as well. 2-2 at the Etihad. We've taken 4 points out of 6 against Spurs and City. Undefeated in a week against 3 very tough away sides. We go with it. And next we've got Bolton in the Carabao Cup. I'm going to see how Mikel rotates for that. But chat, pleasure as always. Guys watching from across the world. Still nearly 2,000 of you legends in this chat. Smash a like, subscribe to the Cannon Podcast if you are new. And that was it. Is it thanks for keeping it Arsenal?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for keeping it Arsenal. No worries. Cheers, lads. Take care. Peace.